Hey everyone! Today I want to talk about Clueless from 1995 by Amy Heckerling. This is the 28th episode of my 1000 favorite movie series, where I talk about the movies I love the most in a random order. To tell you the truth, high school movies have never really been my thing. I don't think there were any I saw in regular rotation when I was growing up. I didn't even watch high school TV shows back then. As a result, I don't have nostalgia for the genre at all, so I have to come to them with older eyes. So maybe the inherent appeal is lost on me. But there are exceptions. I saw Clueless basically on recommendation when I was in college, and I was so surprised by it. I didn't expect it to be this smart, this charming, this good, especially because I'm not a fan of the director's other famous high school movie, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's about a girl named Cher, played by Alicia Silverstone, a wealthy daughter of a lawyer who basically loves fashion, hanging out with her best friend Dion, another rich girl played by Stacey Dash, and getting her way by being able to argue out of anything. And right off the bat, I have to say that one of the best things about this movie, probably the best thing, is this character and her portrayal by Silverstone. Even though on the surface she's little more than a ditzy, spoiled rich girl, she's never mean spirited and generally a nice person who's very easy to root for. Usually, these characters are depicted as bullies and villains, but I don't think there's a bullying bone in her body, and whatever stereotype she embodies is gone by the time she's literally volunteering for disaster relief. She's also undeniably beautiful and so incredibly charming that she really commands the screen. It's one of those performances that would make me want to see any movie if it has her in it, and I can't think of a better compliment for an actor. At least in this movie, she fits her character like a glove. The plot of this movie, if one can call it that, basically revolves around the introduction of two people into her life. The first is her stepbrother Josh, played by Paul Rudd in his first performance, who stays with her and her father in their house during a break. He's in college, so he's older than Cher, but he's also more serious about his studies and tries to be more cultured and informed. He even spends much of his time helping out her father with his case, as opposed to going out and having fun. Their very different personalities hasn't butting heads for much in the movie, as he does criticize her a lot, but they do bond and gradually they fall for each other. Paul Rudd is really appealing in this movie, and totally believable in this character that's a bit goody two shoes while always staying likable. He especially pulls off the moments where he clearly has an inner struggle with his feelings about her really well. The other person who enters her life is Ty, played by Brittany Murphy, in her first movie speaking role. She quickly finds herself under the wing of Cher and Dion, who give her a makeover almost immediately, and she's totally into it. She starts off a bit naive and innocent, but later becomes arguably more popular than Cher, which sometimes makes her into a little bit of a jerk. Her character isn't as appealing as Cher, but Murphy makes her as interesting as she can. These two characters kind of change Cher's perception of things in various ways. Cher's thought a few things about herself from the beginning, like how she has a perfectly unmessy life. She can easily coast out of any bad situation. She can matchmake for other people, therefore knowing what's best for them. And that she's so clever and perceptive. But all these things find a way to come crashing down one way or another. Let's just say that at first, Ty's supposed to be the, quote, clueless one, but she eventually realizes that it's really herself, especially when Ty and Josh unexpectedly start to build a friendship without her influence. But it's this realization that allows her to discover her true feelings toward Josh, as well as possibly a better outlook on life. Other characters include Christian, a guy who Cher instantly gets eyes for from the minute he walks into the classroom for the first time, and seemingly vice versa. It's funny how they played in their first scene, like they both know exactly what they're doing. She thinks that he can be the one, so she does everything in her power to get him, but it doesn't quite work out. He seems to be indifferent when they're on the bed together, as he's more interested in watching Tony Curtis and Sporadicus, as Cher puts it. It takes her a long time to realize that he's gay, and to be honest, I did too when I first saw this movie. Even though they stay very good friends, her finding of love will have to wait. But my favorite side character might be Travis. He's kind of like the Sean Penn character in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but much more likable in my opinion. He's a stoner skateboard guy with a fun loving smile and great energy. One of my favorite scenes with him is when the teacher tells him that he has the most tardies in the class, so he gets up and starts to make a speech as if he just won an Oscar. I also like his reaction to the report card. Probably the thing that surprised me the most about this movie is just how smart the writing is. Besides the fact that this is based on Emma by Jane Austen, which kind of demonstrates the level on which Amy Heckerling was aspiring to when she wrote this, the dialogue is consistently funny and sharp. Many of my favorite lines come from Cher's narration as delivered by Alicia Silverstone. Like when she's trying to pick an outfit for a date, and she says, I don't rely on mirrors, so I always take Polaroids. Or when she says, searching for a boy in high school is as useless as searching for meaning in a Pauly Shore movie. She also has some funny deliveries of normal lines, like when she runs a stop sign and Dion says, Hello, there was a stop sign, and she responds, I totally paused, even though she did no such thing. Or when Travis spills a drink on her shoes, and she complains, Ruin my satin shoes, why don't you? There's also her trademark, as if, which is actually used extremely sparingly for maximum effect. Other characters have good lines too, like when Christian says to Cher's father, Hey man, the protective vibe, I dig. Or when Travis says, Two very enthusiastic thumbs up, fine holiday fun, in response to a speech in class. Or the way this girl, Amber, says, Whatever. Other funny lines come in my favorite moments in the movie. The first is the scene during tennis practice, where the kids lodge various complaints. Cher starts by saying, I would just like to say that physical education in this school is a disgrace. I mean, standing in line for 40 minutes is hardly aerobically effective. Then she reacts to the ball passing by her face by saying, Miss Stoger, that machine is just a lawsuit waiting to happen. But my favorite line, and maybe my favorite line in the movie, comes from Dion when it's her turn, and she says, I have a note from my tennis instructor, and he would prefer it if I didn't expose myself to any training that might derail his teachings. Then Amber also complains about how her plastic surgeon doesn't want her doing any activity where balls fly at her nose. I love the various excuses that they all have to get out of participating. Another favorite scene is a short montage of these guys walking, and Cher criticizing the way they're dressed. The best part is how Heckerling shoots it with them all lined up and the music in the background that perfectly cues on a close up of dangling pants. The punchline is at the end when Cher says, We're expected to swoon? I don't think so. That line gives me a smile every time I hear it. Finally, there's a moment where if you doubted Cher's humanity before, it's hard to now. She's talking to Ty, who at this point has much more going for her, including the fact that she's now friendly with Josh. This kind of makes her jealous, and she says that they're not right for each other, at which point Ty lashes out with the funny but brutal line, You're a virgin who can't drive. This makes her cry, and she's more down to earth here than in any other point in the movie. We also see her face becoming very faded, as opposed to Ty's, who's very bright. It's interesting to see Cher the direct opposite of her usually bright and bubbly personality, and it makes us root for her even more, if we weren't already. So, in the end, what I love about Clueless is that Alicia Silverstone as Cher makes her probably the most appealing lead in a high school movie that I know of. Even though the movie could have taken this character and put her in some kind of raunchy, gross out comedy or some mean spirited expose, it's very humane with his characters and equally as smart and funny. I mean, how many high school movies do you know that has the main character wanting to do good deeds every day? As if. I also appreciate the repeated uses of Radiohead, even if she does think it's crybaby music. It's one of my 1000 favorite movies. Thanks for watching my video. Goshou makoto ni arigatou gozaimasu. Have you seen Clueless? Let me know what you think in the comments. I think of all my favorite movies as my friends, and I think my audience is friends too. Remember, I upload a new video every Friday, so if you want to help me complete this 1000 favorite movies epic, don't forget to like and subscribe.